Thank you for your practice. So tonight, I want to start a series of talks on the Eightfold Path. And if you've ever been to one of these groups or mindful recovery or have any involvement in the Buddhist practice at all, you've probably heard of the Eightfold Path. But what exactly is the Eightfold Path? The Eightfold Path is basically just a set of 8 factors that we're asked to look at and cultivate in the process of working to reach liberation. I don't know if liberation is something that I'll ever personally reach. I don't know if I'll attain awakening, but it's a nice thought. I think that with the way our culture is designed, I think monastics have a lot better chance for that. They don't have to work. They don't have to, they're a lot more sheltered from sense pleasures. Seems a lot easier. They have a lot of time to meditate. It seems like they may have a better chance at it than I do. But I think what we're looking for as lay practitioners with this practice isn't so much liberation. It's working towards a lifestyle that allows us to flourish and allows us to just get down to the root of who we are as people. It's like this is a process of deconditioning from traumas, of deconditioning from society, all the things that are built around us that have made us who we are, these experiences that have altered our character and made us who we are today. And I think that this practice is really just kind of like an archaeological dig to our soul and our heart to help us find who we are. And so there are 8 factors of the path, 8, but they're actually broke up into 3 separate categories. There's Panya, which is the wisdom aspect of the path. That's the right view and right intention. So first of all, let's break this path down. When you hear the path, generally you hear right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So you hear this word right. And I think that gives a bit of a misnomer to what it really is. In Pali, the term is sama. And sama doesn't really mean right. It means something more like upright or skillful. So what we're looking for is a skillful view, skillful intention, skillful speech, skillful action. So we're just cultivating these skillful aspects. Like I said, Panya is the wisdom factor. So we're looking for skillful view. We're looking for skillful intention. Samadhi is the meditation aspect of the path. That's the effort, the mindfulness, the concentration. And then that leaves us with the sila part of the path. And sila is the ethical part of the Eightfold Path. It's the right speech, right action, right livelihood. And I think that especially in the West and in American Buddhism, that's where we kind of drop the ball with the practice. I think a lot of people, I think samadhi gets a lot of the attention. When you hear about Buddhism, the first go-to is meditation, right? Like, oh, you meditate a lot. Like, yeah, I do that, but there's a lot more to this than just sitting in silence. And that's where the Panya and the Sila come in. But I don't think that we can really even attain this skillful view without applying skillful ethics and really looking at that through the lens of samadhi. So I think that even though it starts with the Panya aspect, I think the best way to really do this talk is to start with Sila. I think that's how we start with the path in general, is do our values align with our actions? We have to really look at our values and look at our actions and see if they're in line. I think so much shame and so much suffering is brought about by doing things with our actions that are unskillful and don't align with our core values. I think that's really where shame comes from. It's like, oh God, that thing I did. I don't know how many of those phone calls I've had when I used to drink. Like, you get that call the next day. Like, can you remember what you did last night? Like, absolutely not. And nor do I want to, because it's probably very shameful. So like I said, I think tonight I want to focus on the Sila aspect in Buddhist ethics. And I want to do that in a couple different ways. The first one I want to talk about is the normal way you will hear the action applied. I think we kind of skip over speech. We all know what skillful speech is. I think really if we break skillful speech down, I mean, I'm going to do another talk on speech altogether, but it's, basically just not lying, not, it's idle chatter, not, just not trying to deceive people. So, and not saying anything to harm people. That's the number one thing, is not saying anything to cause harm. But like I said, tonight I want to really dig into action and livelihood from a Buddhist perspective, particularly from my perspective. And like I said, the first way I want to address this is the normal way you would hear this from like pretty much any Dharma teacher from monastics on, and that's addressing action through the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts are 5 areas of discipline and renunciation for householders. And that's basically us, like lay people. So the monks have hundreds of precepts and practices for renunciation, but the Buddha was pretty much like, for you guys, just 5. Like, we'll keep this real simple. You guys have it, you're out in the sense world. We'll just give you 5 to start with. It's just like some basic ways to practice renunciation and discipline and really kind of like look at our ethics. So the 5 precepts are, the first one is not killing. So we're not supposed to kill any sentient being. That it includes bugs. Unfortunately, I've gotten to the point where I actually catch like every bug I find in my house. I don't kill them at all anymore. Roaches and everything. They all go outside. Who am I to deprive them of their future life experiences? The second is not taking what's freely given. A lot of times we think of that as just stealing, like don't steal, but I think there's a lot more to the second precept than just not stealing. I think what it really comes down to is, not saying anything to deceive people, to, for financial gain or to gain something in our favor. It's not, how can I put this? Stealing is taking what's not freely given. And that can be time too. So, say I'll meet you at the Goofy Golf course at 4:30 and you don't show up till 5:25. Like, well, now you've just taken somebody's time that wasn't freely given, time that they will never get back. So technically that's kind of stealing, right? Like, just if they haven't offered it freely, then it's not really ours to take, in my opinion. The third is no sexual misconduct. And the Buddha listed a few ways which are still pretty pertinent, and then a few ways which are pretty archaic and out of date. So I'm not really going to touch on those. But the big ones are basically like, don't sleep with children, and don't sleep with people that are already involved in a relationship. No adultery. I think that's pretty easy to do. Some people still struggle with that, obviously, but for me, it's fairly easy. The fourth is no lying, slanderous speech, or idle chatter. Like I said, that's more of a speech thing, so I don't really think it applies to action, though it could fit in the framework of action. And the fifth is not taking any intoxicants which cause heedlessness. So basically, like no drugs or alcohol that cause you to act out of character. They're not commandments. They're not they're not bylaws that we have to live by. They are suggestions, and they're pretty good ones, I think. So we don't have to be perfect. I mean, I still eat meat. I do have some ethical issues with that I struggle with on the daily. I eat meat because I'm pre-diabetic and I try to eat high protein. So for me, it's a health thing, but ethically, I do still struggle with that. I would love to be able to move away from that. But like I said, we're just doing the best we can. We live in a world that is not as easy as the monastics have it. So we kind of have to adapt and conform to the world around us. So, and I think, the precepts are really put in place because, I mean, if we really think about it, life tends to be a little bit harmonious when we're not lying and killing and like banging the neighbor. It just seems to be a pretty good practice to not do those things. And also that's like the first shit that comes up for me when I sit down to meditate. Like all the stuff that I find might have been a little ethically off and like maybe against my values. Like that's like the first shit that pops up for me when I sit on a cushion. It's like, oh, there it is. And then I have to sit with that feeling and it's icky and I don't like it. So in order to avoid that feeling, I just don't do the shit that gives me that feeling. And it's great in theory, but like I said, do our values align with our actions? Like, I think that's really what we're looking for. So that's the first way I wanted to talk about action. The second way is in the translation itself. So if we look at the Pali translation of right action, we see sama kamanta, which kamanta does not mean action. Kama means action. Karma, kama, same thing. Kama is the Pali term. Karma is the Sanskrit term. But so if we're looking at right action, that would be sama kama. But what the word we're given is sama kamanta. And that really relates to work and artisanship, like a work of passion. Like, what is your life's work? Like, what are you passionate about? Like, if you build guitars for a living, like if that's your thing, like, are you passionate about, that's your work. Like, music used to be I consider myself, I have a lot of friends that are still musicians, and I still play every now and then, but I'm kind of a failed musician in that aspect. I did it professionally for a little while, and the lifestyle just didn't agree with me. I was battling with substance issues at the time, and it was not a good scene for me. So it was not something that really ended up working out. But at the time, that was like my life's work. That's what I felt passionate about. That's what I wanted to do. And I was fortunate enough to be able to do it for a living and combine my survival means with my work. Because really our work is what we're passionate about. The other shit's all just survival for me. Ben Franklin actually had this quote, and I thought I'd throw it in here because it's really pertinent, really poignant. It said, most people die at the age of 21, but aren't buried until they're 80. And that really hit home for me, like I still get goosebumps like thinking about that quote. It's like, damn, that's real shit. Like, how much of our life do we throw away to just surviving? I mean, how many of us have an unfinished painting in the garage, or the guitar that's gathering dust, or the novel we were going to write and never got around to? And
come on, hands up. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it. Oh,
what do you guys like to do? You guys have like stuff you like to do? Like, so what are y'all passionate about? Like, what do you enjoy? I still like to play guitar, and I do this shit. Like, I feel like this is my work. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do is share these teachings with people and like help people see through the constructs that have been built around us and the constructs we keep ourselves in. I really feel like that's my life's work.
I like to write rather than probably over a year.
Yeah. What's
she likes to paint, but she doesn't. You could paint.
And like what I mean, honestly, like what keeps you guys from doing it? What keeps you from writing? What keeps you from painting?
Well, work a lot, busy a lot, going a lot of places.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I think because of that, a lot of the times what we're passionate about doing gets shoved into that hobby category. And then it's like our hobby, and it's like, no, but that's what I want to do. Like, that's who I am as a person. We let our jobs define who we are. Like how often do you meet somebody doing like, oh, what do you do for a living? Like we're automatically defined by the job we have, and then we're lumped into these categories of social hierarchy by what we do.
And I had to be honest with some trouble too. I try to write, I just can't.
Right. I mean, maybe you just gotta sit with it, man. Just sit. It'll come out. It'll come out when it's ready, for sure.
And I had somebody kind of help me with mine because I really, really enjoy roller derby, but my health got too bad.
Right.
And then a friend of mine was like, "Listen, I made this place for you. You're going to be the coach for the new people," and came up with a whole program. And now I get to do it again, even though I'm not healthy enough to actually do it. And that's just been like super exciting this last month.
That's awesome. That's fucking great. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, like I said, I've been like a failed musician, and that didn't work out for me. And now this is kind of like what I feel like I was really meant to do. Just do all the shit that I've been through that's put me where I am. Like, I feel uniquely built for this. I think that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't make shit doing it, but it's my work. This is my work. This is what I feel passionate about. It's like, so like I was saying, I think that a lot of times we get put in these boxes of who we get categorized as what we do. And it kind of deludes us from who we are, like at our core. And it sucks, but everybody's got bills to pay. We've all got to eat. We need health insurance. Everybody has shit going on. And a lot of times we have to do shit we don't want to do. We have to take jobs we don't want to be at. And we have to do a lot of things that might not even align with our ethics and our values. I know some of the worst times that I've experienced personally working were jobs that it just felt like it was fucking draining my soul. Like it was like, I fucking want to die every day I'm here. And that's not good. I don't think that's good. I don't think that's a good place to be. I mean, just on the surface, that doesn't seem like really cool. Like if you hate being there, it might be time to look for somewhere else to be. I went to a friend of mine's graduation yesterday, and like super proud of him. Like he's my age, so a little later in life getting his bachelor's, but he did the damn thing, and it's like and even still through the joy of like watching my friend graduate and seeing all those people down there graduating, it's like I couldn't help but think at all the hours of hard work put in for something that may or may not pay off, may or may not benefit them, and that I still haven't even attained, that I'm working towards it. It's like, well, fuck, what am I even doing this for? And sometimes I just don't know. I really don't. Like, what do I go to school for? Well, I go to school because I want to be a counselor, but I don't need a degree to help people. I need a degree to counsel people legally because society tells me I have to have that. But ultimately, like, I don't need a degree to help people. I help people every Monday night in some way, hopefully, and I didn't have to go to school for this. Now, granted, I'm going through some pretty extensive training for this shit, but society didn't tell me I had to do that. Like, I did it because I want to be a better facilitator, and I want to do the best job that I can do with this. And the place that I'm getting trained to is Wild Heart Meditation Center in Nashville. And it used to be called Against the Stream. That was a group that was started by Noah Levine. And it was a branch of that. And I really like the name Against the Stream and that idea of going against the stream, against the norm. It's like looking at society and saying, like, I don't want to participate in that anymore. I will only participate at the level of necessity, but like not getting wrapped up in all the fucking social media and just grasping to be people we're not, to buy shit we don't need, to impress people that don't care. It's just none of it matters. None of it matters. And like that's, first of all, like that's what this practice has really shown me at the deepest roots of my soul is like none of that shit matters. It does not comprise who I am. A degree does not make me who I am. It doesn't make any of us who we are. And I think we weigh ourselves too harshly on accolades and accomplishments that essentially mean nothing in the long run. Like, are we living a good life? Are we happy? Do we treat people well? Do we treat ourselves well? I think that's a much larger endeavor than a degree in internet marketing or some shit. It's just illusory. And for me, it's just kind of vapid and awful. It's like, but that's the society we live in right now. It just is what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still like to buy shit and I like to eat food. So I have to participate at some level and go to work and do all these things that I don't really want to do. But that's why I do this, so I can have this part of me, because I think it's really important for us to still pick up the pen and write, or to paint, or to play the fucking guitar that's been sitting in the corner for 3 years, or whatever your thing is. Like, do that. Just go lay in the sand and enjoy your life. Like, I think we miss so much of life just by chasing these constructs that we're told matter, and they absolutely don't. And like I said, I still let it get to me sometimes, and I fall back asleep to that. I did yesterday. I was really in my fucking feelings about some shit yesterday. I was not feeling good. And I woke up today and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna think about this, and then I'm gonna write a talk about it. And that's what I did. You know, I think we've seen that a lot over the past couple of years with the pandemic. I think we've seen a lot of people waking up to that. You know, saying, oh, nobody wants to work. It's like, no, it's not that nobody wants to work. It's just nobody wants to work at fucking Chipotle for $12 an hour. You know, like that seems like bullshit, because it is. I mean, let's be realistic. That is bullshit. Henry David Thoreau. Any of y'all read Thoreau?
Yes.
Love Thoreau. All the Transcendentalist authors were amazing. Emerson, Thoreau, Margaret Fuller, just fantastic. He has this quote, and you've all heard this before, but it's, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with the song still in them. So if you take anything away from this, it's just don't go to the grave with a song in your heart, right? Get the song out, you know. And
also is Spirit of the Forest.
Yeah, you know, he was that's the Transcendentalist view is that everything is connected. Nature, God, man, everything is divinely interconnected. So yeah, go after the things you want to do. Like, don't get so caught up in society. I mean, yeah, we have to eat, we have to participate to some extent, but like, don't let it dictate your life and who you are. You know, like, really, like, let's all endeavor to really look at who we are as people and what we actually value, not just what we do to survive. And if you're lucky enough, or you can endeavor well enough to combine the two, to where you can take your work of passion and make it your means of survival, then fucking do that. Absolutely do that, and don't do anything else ever. You know, like, life is absolutely too short to do shit we don't want to do. And we're going to have to do some shit we don't want to do. But I think we can, you know, like I said, I think we create a whole lot of unnecessary suffering by putting ourselves in positions, at jobs that we don't want to be in. And sometimes we just have to see through that and go, you know, fuck it. I'm going to take my chances.